Today's walk starts at Old Logie Kirk, which sits to the east of Stirling University, almost a mile from Logie village. We cross a stream and head up through woodland to Yellow Craig, where a stunning vista is revealed. Passing the old ruins of Forsake, we continue on the open hill, picking up a newly laid grey track that takes us over what used to be quite boggy ground, and eventually arrive at the top of Dumyat at 418 metres above sea level.
Hello there. This is Logie Kirk, now a ruin, and this is where we're starting today's walk. This one dates to probably the 16th century. There is a later one down the lane which is still in use. I can't remember how old that one is, probably early 19th century or something like that. But there has been a church on this site for a long time, way before this one was built, and probably at least as far back as the 12th century, and probably hundreds of years before that. Religious sites are generally in use for long time, and it's just nice to wander around such old graveyards. The stones themselves are just absolutely fascinating, all the different carvings and what have you. But this one in particular is probably one of the most interesting ones in this graveyard, and it is what is termed a hogback stone, thought to be Norse or Viking in origin. I think there is two in this graveyard. I think the other one's a fragment, and I'm just not sure where it is. But I mean, it's quite unusual. You do get Viking hogback stones in Scotland. But not that many of them. They're sort of dotted perhaps here and there. There's a large collection of them in Govan. At one time Govan was pretty much at the centre of the Strathclyde Britons, their area of the country. It was taken over by the Vikings at one point, and I don't know, 11th, 12th century or thereabouts, and hence why there's a lot of Viking hogback stones and other seriously important grave markers in Govan. But we've got this one here in Logie, and you have to wonder why it's here. You know, did a Viking lose his way at one point? I mean, for such a stone to be created, you would have to be a fairly important Viking, you know.
There are many interesting symbols on some of the older gravestones. The inverted heart is thought to represent the early death of a loved one, and the hourglass indicates the unrelenting passage of time.
nice slate seat here. The views are tremendous. Looking over to the Wallace Monument in Stirling and the whole of the Carse around the River Forth. We've got a wee bit to go yet before we hit the top of the Myatt, and obviously we'll be a wee bit higher and the views will be even more stunning. But before we got there, there's just something I want to have a very brief look at, and it sits just behind me, just over there, by a tree. And it's an old steading that used to be called Forsake. It doesn't exist anymore, and all that's left is really that tree and a few lumps and bumps in the ground. And like a number of steadings in this area, in addition to regular farm-like activities with perhaps certain crops and various animals, they would probably have kept goats here. You just can't beat a steading that once kept goats. So let's have a look. So this is Forsake, or what used to be known as Forsake. It's a small steading hill farm, whatever you would want to call it. Probably dates back to the 16th century, around about the same time as the old ruined kirk in Logie, when it was created. I mean, it's just such a lovely spot. If you think about where you were going to put your house or your farm or whatever, it's just an ideal location, because there's a small ridge there which is sheltering the land here from any wind that would come up from that side of the Ochil Hills. You know, there's a sheer drop on that side, going down into the flat Carse. When I was sitting in the seat, it was quite windy up there. Well, marginally windy, but here it feels it's just a nice spot. That provides shelter there. You've got this bit of rock outcrop by the tree there, which gives you shelter on that side. And while a lot of the ground around here is probably a little bit wet, this part is okay. You know, they've picked a really good spot to build somewhere that they would live and make a living. By the beginning of the 19th century, in fact, around about 1808, sorry for being so precise, but that's I think when this kind of was abandoned, at least partly abandoned and demolished. And by around 1860, in the first edition Northern Survey map, you can see that it's a ruin. Then it shows 4 roofless buildings. I dare say if you spent long enough looking at all these kind of outlines here, you could probably trace these 4 structures. But it's just a lot of rocks that remain, although now and then they're still in situ. You know, this is obviously a corner here. And nowadays folk, I can see barbecue stuff there, so folk have obviously been coming up here and having a barbecue to themselves, because it is a nice spot, offering a bit of shelter. Well, this is the top of the Myatt, and it would be hard to imagine a better day. It's just stunningly beautiful. On a clear day you could see as far as the three bridges at Queensferry, but there is a wee bit of mist in the distance, and unfortunately not today. But the light is just, you know, it's a late autumn, early winter, it's a very low sun, and it's casting all sorts of shadows over the hills, and it's just beautiful. And this is where we end today's walk. There are a number of ways down from the top here. We can just go back the way we came, or we could go back roughly the same sort of way. There was a pretty new looking grey path that kind of zigzagged its way up the hill, and I suspect that'll lead in the direction of the Sheriff Muir Road. So you could go that way and then head down that way into the university, or you could cross over the Sheriff Muir Road, pass by a loch in the direction of Pendreek, and then drop down into Bridge of Allen. Or you could down this way into Menstrie. I'm still not sure which way to go down, so I'm just going to stop here for a while and soak up the views from the top of what is clearly one of Scotland's most stunning little hills. I'm Eddie Burns. I'll see you again.